statement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Cabinet members, Honorable Members of Parliament. I rise to contribute to the today in terms of a ministerial statement on Fiji's maritime leadership, advancing a just and inclusive transition at the IMO, International Maritime Organization, Maritime Environment Protection Committee of that organization. Madam Deputy Speaker, the ocean does not separate our islands, it connects us. It is our highway, our heritage, and the very foundation of our identity as Pacific peoples. As custodians of the Blue Pacific continent, Fiji bears a solemn responsibility to lead with integrity, vision, and resolve in shaping the global maritime agenda and championing the voices of small island developing states, SEEDs. In this regard, I wish to also acknowledge the outstanding leadership of the Republic of Marshall Islands, RMI, throughout the MEPC 83 negotiations and the preceding international working group meetings, whose unwavering commitment to climate ambition greatly strengthened the Pacific's collective voice at the International Maritime Organization within the UN. This duty is enshrined in our commitment to safeguard the ocean for future generations, ensuring our development is both sustainable and inclusive. It is this sacred duty in mind that I rise today to update this Honourable House on Fiji's participation at the 83rd session of the Marine Environment Protection Committee of the International Maritime Organization, held from 7th to 11th April. I wish to also provide an update on the progress made towards the establishment of the IMO Regional Presence Office in Suva, an initiative that firmly cements Fiji's leadership role within the Pacific and global maritime community. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC, is one of the 5 principal committees established under the International Maritime Organization, the specialized United Nations agency responsible for regulating shipping. MEPC holds the critical mandate of addressing environmental issues affecting international shipping, including pollution prevention and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Central to its recent agenda is the implementation of the revised IMO strategy on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from ships, adopted in 2023, which seeks to achieve net zero GHG emissions from international shipping by around 2050, in alignment with the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Madam Speaker, one of the core instruments to facilitate the realization of this strategy is the proposed establishment of the IMO Net Zero Transition Fund. This fund is intended to serve as a key mechanism for supporting developing countries, particularly the small island developing states and least developed countries in their transition towards low carbon and resilient maritime transport systems. It will provide critical financial resources for capacity building, technology transfer, infrastructure development, and support for just and equitable transition measures. Against this important backdrop, Fiji's participation at this committee was not entirely timely but vital in ensuring that the voices of the Pacific and other vulnerable states were meaningfully represented, and that our unique needs and realities were incorporated into the evolving international maritime framework. Fiji's delegation to MEPC 83 was strong and committed, comprising officials from the Ministry, the MSEF, Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji, the Ministry of Defence, including an officer from Fiji Navy and representatives from our High Commission in London. The Fiji Hydrographic Office was also represented. I should add that a visit to the UK Hydrographic Office confirmed capacity building and technical cooperation with Fiji, with one of their officers attached to the Fiji Hydrographic Office and a Fijian at the UK Hydrographic Office. The collective presence ensured that Fiji's national interests were not only articulated but strategically advanced in all technical and political discussions. The delegation demonstrated professionalism, deep technical expertise, and a shared vision for a decarbonized, equitable, and resilient maritime future, guided by our commitments under the Pacific Blue Shipping Partnership and our nationally determined contributions. At MEPC 83, the IMO adopted its first globally binding midterm measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from international shipping. A historic, yet not really perfect, in our shared fight against climate change. The measures introduce a two-tier compliance system under a greenhouse gas fuel intensity framework consisting of a base target and a direct compliance target. Whilst this sets a framework for progress, it regrettably does not deliver the level of ambition or fairness required by small island developing states, including our own. Fiji, together with our regional partners, including Vanuatu, Republic of Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Kiribati, and Nauru, abstained from the final vote, not in opposition, but in principle protest of a process and outcome that failed to align with the 1.5-degree temperature goal and that lacked sufficient revenue generation for just and equitable transition financing, and also ignored the realities of disproportionate negative impacts on vulnerable nations. We stood firm in affirming that ambition must be matched with equity and that climate justice demands practical action, not just promises. This vote exposed deep flaws in the IMO's decision-making process and illustrated how voices from the global south continue to be sidelined. Madam Speaker, despite these setbacks, Fiji played a pivotal role in shaping outcomes through persistent diplomacy and strategic coalition building. We contributed to the formation of the ACP plus coalition with ISWG, GSG 19, significantly amplifying the collective voice of developing and vulnerable countries. Fiji actively participated in negotiations with major economies, notably in raising the ambition levels amongst BRICS countries. This included encouraging China, one of the world's largest maritime nations, to shift its positions towards supporting a revenue-generating mechanism projected to yield between $5 to 10 billion annually. This was a major breakthrough, as China had previously maintained a stance of limited or no revenue generation. The significance of this shift cannot be overstated. It moves the negotiations closer to establishing a global fund that could finance climate resilience, low-carbon transition, and support for vulnerable states like Fiji. Fiji played an instrumental role in negotiating a compromise text on the critical issue of revenue disbursement. Through careful negotiation, consensus was achieved to include specific language to mandate the disbursement of sufficient revenues towards 5 core purposes as outlined in the Revenue Disbursement Regulation, namely the incentivization of transition, support for just and equitable transition, and addressing disproportionate negative impacts on vulnerable states such as SEEDS. This provides greater security that the revenues generated will not be disproportionately channeled only towards commercial incentives, but will also meaningfully support the needs of developing countries, such as transition and infrastructure, and those impacted mostly by climate change. I'm also happy to report that Fiji contributed to the enhancing of the environmental ambition of the proposed amendments to MAPOL Annex 6, the principal international treaty regulating air pollution from ships. These efforts resulted in strengthening regulatory measures that will impose stricter requirements on the shipping industry to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, thereby advancing environmental integrity, supporting the 1.5-degree temperature goal, and aligning international shipping practices with the Paris Agreement targets and the IMO GSG Strategy 2023. These achievements reflect not only Fiji's unwavering commitment to climate leadership, but also our ability to influence meaningful change within complex international negotiations. They demonstrate the power of principled leadership, effective coalition building, and the unwavering advocacy in shaping a more just, inclusive, and sustainable maritime future for our blue Pacific continent and beyond. Madam Deputy Speaker, it is important to note that this was also a moment of unprecedented regional solidarity. For the first time in IMO's history, 5 Pacific ministers stood united at the negotiation table. I was joined at the negotiation table by 4 other Pacific ministers, Honorable Manasseh of Solomon Islands, Honorable Simon Coffey of Tuvalu, Honorable Ralph Regevan of Vanuatu, and Honorable Hilton Kendall of the Republic of Marshall Islands. Together we stood united in carrying the voice of the Pacific and firmly advocating for a maritime transition that is just, inclusive, and ambitious. Pacific solidarity not only demonstrated our collective strength, but also set a powerful precedent for future global climate and maritime discussions, where the Pacific and seas must be seen as one voice for ocean stewardship and climate resilience. Madam Deputy Speaker, this unity reflects Fiji's commitment to the Pacific vision of oceans of peace, as initiated by the Honorable Prime Minister at the regional and international stage. We envisage our Blue Pacific continent as a region where the ocean is not only a source of life and livelihoods, but also a platform for diplomacy, cooperation, and sustainability, given the current international tensions. Our oceans must be safeguarded from both international degradation and geopolitical tension. Through our work at the IMO and other global fora, we are reinforcing this vision, advocating for maritime decarbonization, fair financing, resilient connectivity in a spirit of solidarity and peace. Our efforts also ensure that Pacific peoples continue to benefit from the ocean's bounty while preserving it for future generations. So I wish to, Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish to provide an update on Fiji's hosting of the IMO Regional Presence Office for the Pacific. The Ministry is currently progressing work on establishing this office, IMO RPO, as an independent body with housing and arrangements nearing finalization. The selection of office premises that meet international standards is at this final stage, with due diligence conducted to ensure accessibility, security, and operational efficiency. The Memorandum of Understanding between the Government of Fiji and the IMO for the housing of the RPO has already been signed, marking a key milestone in this initiative. In preparation for the launch, the Ministry will soon establish a dedicated task force in collaboration with the Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji to coordinate the necessary arrangements. The official launch of the IMO Regional Pacific Office is scheduled for August this year and will be officiated by the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, who will also be making an official visit to the Pacific in conjunction with that. Once operational, the office will serve as a vital hub for technical cooperation, regulatory compliance, support, and capacity building. It will also facilitate timely interventions on emerging maritime issues, foster innovation, and promote regional collaboration towards sustainable maritime transport. It positions Fiji as not only as a regional leader, but also as a central convener of practical, inclusive, and sustainable maritime solutions. Fiji will continue to engage actively and constructively in upcoming negotiations, including the 20th and 21st sessions of the Intersessional Working Group on Greenhouse Gas Emissions, and the extraordinary session of the Marine Environment Protection Committee to advocate for a more ambitious, equitable, and transparent international maritime framework. These negotiations represent critical opportunities to strengthen the governance of the IMO Net Zero Fund, push for equitable representatives for seeds and least developed countries, and embed high ambition across the regulatory framework. So it's very, very critical that Fiji is part of that, so that we maximize the benefits as soon as these frameworks are established. Fiji's delegation will continue to advance the principle of transition to low carbon shipping must be ambitious and just, ensuring that no country is left behind, especially the Pacific. We will work collaboratively with our Pacific and global partners to ensure that our future midterm measures are designed with just and equitable transition principles at their core, delivering tangible benefits for vulnerable economies. Our advocacy will continue to be anchored in the broader climate commitments under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, Paris Agreement, as well as our national priorities outlined in Fiji's forthcoming transport decarbonization strategy. We will continue to promote the Pacific Blue Shipping Partnership as a pioneering model for regional cooperation, demonstrating how Pacific Island nations can lead global action on maritime decarbonization. We will continue to support calls for the operationalization of the IMO Net Zero Transition Fund in a manner that prioritizes capacity building, access to climate finance, and technology transfer for Fiji and our Pacific Islands. In conclusion, MEPC did not fully deliver the level of ambition our islands urgently needed, but it has laid a critical foundation for renewed advocacy and transformation in terms of energy transition. Fiji stands undeterred with continued leadership for our nation in terms of our regional cooperation and priorities. We will press forward in shaping an international maritime order that uplifts the vulnerable, protects our oceans, and paves the way for a sustainable and resilient future. Madam Speaker, with the establishment of the IMO Regional Presence Office, the development of Fiji's transport carbonization strategy, and now co-leadership of the Pacific Blue Shipping Partnership, Fiji is not only advocating for change, we are demonstrating it through tangible strategic action. We remain resolute despite the international challenges in moving forward, not only for the small Pacific Island developing states, but for developing countries in general in ensuring that there is a just and equitable transition as we move forward in terms of climate change.